inviting Councillor Stockton. I think he's the only one who hasn't joined us.
Pauline, you're live on YouTube, so you're good to go when you're ready.
Ready to go, right. Good morning, Philip. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this rather damp meeting of the Development Committee, and also welcome to any members of the public who are watching us on the live stream YouTube, and to Mr. Patterson, who's registered to speak with us. With me today are the officers who will be presenting a report, and that's Officer Reuben. We have also our legal advisor, who is Officer Croxon, Fiona Croxon. We have Head of Planning, Officer Philip Rowson, and we have, I think that's it. That's the full complement of our development and legal advisors. We have two officers from Democratic Services. We have Matt, Officer Matt, who's, I can never pronounce your name, do forgive me, Matt, Stebromsky, I think, who will be overseeing the technical side of things. And we have Officer Yaram, who will be dealing with taking the minutes and noting the times that we have for speaking. Can I please remind members that we have actually an official time for you to speak, and that is 5 minutes. If you are speaking in support of an application, as approving or disapproving, you are only then allowed 3 minutes. But as a normal member, we are restricted. Otherwise, some of us, as I very well know on my own behalf, will go on for quite a bit longer if we can. So it's 5 minutes for members, and it's 3 minutes for speakers, public speakers. There will be a vote as per normal, where I ask you to speak out for, against, or abstain. Matt will be controlling that. Just to say that if any of you are not on the panel, on the committee, will you please mute and turn off your video link? You'll still be able to hear, but it just clears the screen. And if you're not speaking, will you please mute, because otherwise we get an echo, which is quite disturbing. I do keep my mute off because I find that's easier for me than keep fiddling around. I think that's as much as I need to go through just the ordinary preliminaries. And we now go to the agenda itself. Are there any apologies for absence, Linda? Linda, can you hear me? Oh dear. Matt, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We are having some connection issues, but I can still hear you loud and clear.
I've just asked Linda, but she obviously can't get through to me. Are there any apologies that you know of?
Madam Chairman, I'm back in the room now. My mute wouldn't come off. I have apologies from Councillor Nigel Pearce with Councillor Vincent Fitzpatrick as substitute. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Could we just now go to the minutes? You will have received the email with the minutes of the 20th of August, and the amended, shortened version of the minutes for the 17th of September. Have you read through them, all of you? Are there any corrections that you wish to add in? Right, well then can I have a show of hands to approve the minutes? Those on the committee? Thank you. That's passed. Any items of urgent business? Matt, are you there? I knew this would happen. Philip, any?
No urgent items to report, Chairman.
Right, okay. The order of business will stay exactly as it is, as we've only got one application, so that's a very easy one to go through. Declarations of interest. Anybody have anything in particular about this application? No? Good. So we pass to the officers' reports. And the first and only planning application is on pages 1 to 8, and it's Smallborough PF/19/1287, and I'm going to pass to Officer Reuben to present.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everyone. So I'm presenting item 7 on the agenda, which is application reference PF191287. The application proposes the conversion of a Grade 2 listed 19th century threshing barn and former stables into an office with 32 desk spaces, along with storage and toilet facilities. 18 parking spaces would also be provided. The report can be found on pages 1 to 8 of the report pack, along with the accompanying presentation slides. The design of the proposed development and impact on the designated heritage asset have been considered to be acceptable, noting that an associated listed building application for the same development has already been approved in January of this year. Similarly, matters of impact upon the surrounding landscape, biodiversity and drainage are also considered to be acceptable, subject to conditions. As such, for this application, the two main issues of consideration under this are those of principle and highways impact. First, dealing with the matter of principle, the principle of development in being a conversion of an existing rural building is accepted under policies SS2 and associated policy EC2. However, it must be demonstrated that the development requires a rural location. In this respect, officers have accepted the agent's explanation in stating that the proposed development would be used by Worstead Farms, the applicant, along with a potential further rural-based tenant. It is further accepted that the proposed development is likely to present economic benefits to the local community. Furthermore, it is very much recognised that the proposed development would result in a successful reuse of a Grade 2 listed barn, thus ensuring its long-term survival, again noting that the design is acceptable and would successfully preserve the character of the building without the need for any substantial alterations or extension. Paragraph 83 of the NPPF encourages the growth and expansion of all types of businesses in rural areas, including the reuse of rural buildings, whilst paragraph 84 further recognises that sites to meet local business needs may have to be found beyond existing settlements and in locations that are not well served by public transport, although in this instance there are public transport options available, along with providing 2 electric car charging points and cycle storage facilities. Finally, policy EC2 allows consideration of the optimum viable use of listed buildings, and in this case, the use of the building in the manner proposed is considered to be acceptable. As such, overall and on balance, the principle of development is accepted. Turning to highways impact, there are no objections to parking provision or to the proposed access arrangements. However, the Highway Authority have objected to the application based upon the transport sustainability of the location. In this respect, officers do not expect the volume of traffic generated from the proposed office use to be significantly high, highest at the beginning and end of the working day. Noting further that the site is within walking distance of a bus route through Smallborough, further facilitated by a proposed improved footpath link from the site to Yarmouth Road. It is further noted that part of the building would be used by existing employees of Worstead Farms. As well as this, officers have factored into the planning balance the earlier mentioned benefits of reusing a Grade 2 listed building and the wider benefits to the local economy. This matter is considered to be finely balanced. However, it is concluded that the proposal is acceptable in terms of its highways impact and taking account of the benefits of the proposed development. As such, the officer recommendation is one of conditional approval, as summarised on page 7 of the report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Officer Rubin. Have we, and I don't think we have, but I'll go through the normal procedures. Parish speaker or Linda? Nobody representing the parish?
No, Madam Chairman, I have nobody representing the parish nor any objecting speakers. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Patterson, can you come on? Can I view you? There we go. Good. There we go. If you'd like to present, and you have 3 minutes, Linda will time you and ding you at the end of it. Okay?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair.
You start when you feel.
Oh, sorry.
That's
Good
all right.
morning. My name is Gavin Patterson. I represent the applicant Worstead Farms. This application is concerned with the protection of a beautiful red brick barn that is not suitable for agricultural or residential use. It is situated in our working farmyard next to the A149. The development is small scale. Of the 32 workstations, 6 will be for our own staff already working on site. The remaining 26 spaces will be pre-let to an already identified local business serving agricultural businesses east of Norwich. To address the concerns of highways directly, starting with the concerns regarding the capacity of the local road network, a one-way system on the site will mean that traffic will be directed out of the north exit. The north exit has excellent visibility and access to the A149, a major artery. Both our business and our identified pre-let business operate locally, and most journeys will not require access over Roxton Bridge. In the unlikely event that any users of the office commute from Norwich, they will be commuting in the opposite direction to rush hour traffic. With regard to sustainability on the site, it is already served by public transport, with buses running roughly every hour. We will put in a pathway to the local bus stop to make access even easier. We have reduced the scale of the development by half. It is not a business centre or a conference centre, but a small rural office. We have cycle storage on site. And ride-share schemes will be implemented in addition to this. In addition to this, priority parking and free charging will be available to ride-share and electric vehicles. We already have a 50 kilowatt roof-mounted solar array serving the site. 20% of new vehicles sold last year in the UK were either hybrid or electric vehicles. Bloomberg forecast that global sales of electric vehicles will quadruple between 2019 and 2025. By the time this office development is complete, it's reasonable to assume that most people arriving on site by car will be driving the electric vehicle. I hope this is taken into consideration when you make your deliberations. In conclusion, we believe that the site is safely and well connected to major roads, as of such small scale that it cannot materially burden the local road network. We believe that the benefits of saving a beautiful barn, boosting local employment and the local economy outstrip issues around the site's sustainability. Moreover, the ever-increasing prevalence of electric vehicles is likely to erode any concerns around sustainability in just a few years. We very much hope that you will support our proposal. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. I now go to local members. We have 2, but I'll ask, if that's all right, Gerald, I'll ask Councillor Dixon to present first.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. I will confine my comments to the following. As the previous Cabinet Member for Economic Development, I recognise how important it is to regenerate redundant premises to support the local economy. However, this needs to be done taking into account the local infrastructure and the environment in sustainable locations. While the site is near the A149, the adjoining access roads are very narrow, with poorly aligned junctions, and a high degree of reliance on car travel makes this an unsustainable location for a business centre with 31 workstations and conference facilities for 58 people. Depending on how it's used, and I would just point out that although the applicant has mentioned the pre-let arrangement, of course, the pre-let arrangements are precisely that. You do not know, and we do not know, what the tenanting arrangements will be in the future. But depending on how it's used, this could easily generate 300 vehicle movements a day. Traffic flow will naturally favour the 1151. And while access from the 1151 along Hall Road and Knowles Lane would be acceptable, the exit from the site is very close to the A149 junction, and so close that turning right into to travel along Hall Road back to the 1151 would be hazardous. This traffic would also significantly add to the congestion at the 1151 at Houghton and Wroxham. For years, highways have been trying to reduce and relieve this congestion. This is another factor in this sustainability argument. Despite the applicant's aspirations to encourage and promote bus transport to and from the site, it's simply too remote to realistically expect that to be effective. Travel will inevitably be by car. So I fully support highways and the parish council objections on sustainability grounds. Highways have advised they haven't also objected on highway safety grounds because the NPPF requires the impact to be severe in order to justify an objection. The parish council and myself are clear that while the impact of this extra traffic may not be severe, it would certainly be detrimental to road safety. I am clear that while the impact of this extra traffic may not be severe, it would be detrimental to road safety. I'm amazed the district council officers disagree with highways in claiming it's a sustainable location for a traffic intensive use like a business centre, when its corporate plan, it promotes sustainability as a key part of its environmental agenda. I have discussed other options with the applicant, which would be more sustainable, much more sustainable, and have less impact on the local road infrastructure. And they are clearly matters for the applicant to consider. The applicant also advised that other non-agricultural business activities have been established on the site currently without planning permission, and it's not clear to me whether these have been taken into account in reaching the officer's recommendation. For those reasons, Madam Chairman, the principle of a business centre at this location is unsustainable and detrimental to highway safety, and I ask that you support the Highways, Parish Council and my own objections and refuse the application. That concludes my presentation. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Dixon. Councillor Mancini Board, who wish to come in here?
I have nothing to add, really. This is Councillor Dixon's ward anyway, so I'll leave it all to him. He's done quite a good job on that. Thank you.
Thank you. I now pass to our members. Does anybody wish to speak here? Please just raise your hand. I find that easier.
Just note Philip has a raised hand.
Who, sorry?
Philip Rowson.
Right, Officer Rowson.
Chairman, a point of order for the meeting, please. Enforcement activities and unauthorised uses on this site are not material to this consideration. They would have to be pursued via the enforcement process. And we've heard that there are issues today, and I will check with the enforcement team with regard to those activities. We will speak with the owners and we will then return back to Councillor Dixon with commentary on the enforcement position at this site. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Officer Rowson. Can I ask members, please, to comment on this application?
Councillor Kershaw would like to speak, followed by Councillor Lloyd.
Right, Councillor Kershaw.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everybody. I'd just like to clarify, I don't think this is a business centre. I think this is an office where people will come to work in the morning and not actually see clients. This is to support the agricultural sector in East Anglia. As in my portfolio as economic development, I welcome smaller businesses moving into the countryside. I find also the restoration of a Grade 2 barn to be advantageous, and I must say I will support this application. Thank you.
Are you going to propose approval then, Councillor Kershaw?
I will propose approval.
Okay. Councillor Lloyd.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When I went through this application, I was impressed with the thoroughness, particularly with regards to the biodiversity with the pipistrelle bats and the nesting barn owls. I've got a question for Mr. Ralston regarding the European Protected Species Licence. After Philip's answered that question, Madam Chair, I'd like to come back with a couple more comments. But the question to Philip is that a showstopper? I mean, if they come back and don't issue a licence, how does that work from there on?
Officer Ralston, if you'd like to reply.
Chairman, effectively, the matter of protected species licensing is a separate legal process. I'm sure you can gain further legal advice from our legal representatives today. However, we do need to control that the planning use is not operational until the license has been granted. So it's not uncommon to apply conditions that require that license to be dealt with effectively before the use is introduced to the site, before the works are in effect commenced that harm or potentially harm the licensed species. So the conditions that you're seeing here, the recommendations and commentary are pretty much standard. It is an issue whereby we would seek to ensure that obviously works are subject to effectively agreement on that license being granted.
Can I just pass to our legal advisor, Officer Croxton? Have you anything to say here?
No, I agree with what Philip has just said. There's a condition there which requires the license to be obtained first, and that condition is enforceable should that not happen.
Thank you. Councillor Lloyd, would you like to come back?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for those answers. It'd be interesting to know what happens after January the 1st this year, but anyway, I won't go there. I've used this road many, many times, actually. It's a bit of a rat run. It cuts off the corner if you're heading to Norwich from North Horsham, in actual fact. But I have to say, I've never come across, in all the years I've lived up here, which is approaching 40, I've never come across traffic jams there, I have to say. It's always been quite a quiet lane there. Biggest problem, I think, would be agricultural vehicles rather than anything else. But just to finalise my comments, I agree with previous comments made regarding the supporting agriculture in this part of the world. And I think it's really refreshing to see that this applicant has made good provision for renewable power, ground source heat pumps. It's the sort of development that I think this council should be supporting. Although before anybody comes in, I know it's not a material consideration yet, but I'm happy to support this. And if you're going to ask the question, Madam Chair, I will second it.
Thank you. Yes, I was going to ask that question. Quite right. Councillor Lloyd. Anybody else wish to speak? Yes, Councillor Cushing.
Followed by Councillor Fitzpatrick.
Right.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have to say I don't actually know the area, but and though we all want to encourage any form of agricultural development, we are all always told that whenever we make our deliberations, it has to be based on the rules that apply for the district. it seems to me often turns around policy CT5, which says that any development has to be sustainable. Given that highways, the parish, and indeed the local members believe it is not, I struggle to understand how it actually meets that criteria. It does seem to be in the very detailed information that we've been sent by the planning officer that seems to brush that aside. I just don't quite understand why that would be when, say, all the local people on the ground and indeed the highways say contrary to that. Thank you.
Can I just go back to you, Officer Rubin? Have you anything to add to your comments?
I think we've acknowledged in the report that this is a finely balanced decision. So I think what we've taken into account is that, yes, there'll be a generation of traffic, but we've also considered the possibilities of using local public transport options, the possibility of a walking route into Smallborough itself. There are various, sustainability measures on the site, including electric car charging points. We're taking into account the economic benefits of the proposal, and all of these factors have to be balanced with each other. It's a listed building. We're taking into account that it's a reuse of a Grade 2 listed building and secures its long-term future. So yes, there are issues around transport sustainability, but we also have to consider the other benefits as well. So as we've clearly said in the report, it is a finely balanced decision. An officer's view is that the balance tips in favour of the proposal.
Thank you, Officer Rubin. Does that answer you, Councillor Cushing?
It answers the question. I'm not sure it changes my opinion, but anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Officer Ralston might want to add to that. I see his hand is raised.
Oh, do you want to add now, Philip?
Chairman, now that you've spoken with Colin, I'm content for the debate at the moment, but those issues have been put in some perspective. It may be useful if I speak at the end just to guide members on that voting issue. This is very much a matter of planning balance, and if I might be able to summarise at the end before members vote.
Of course. Now, Councillor Fitzpatrick, you wish to speak?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. First of all, I'd like to thank the officers for the work in this application and the comprehensive report. I must admit, when I first looked at this application, I was very much in favour because, as has been said before, it's economic, it supports economic development in a rural location. It also protects for the future, sort of currently redundant or semi-redundant heritage asset, and with a sort of really first class scheme. So I'm very much in favour of the application, except when it comes to the objections from highways and the parish council on traffic. I have the disadvantage that I don't know the area, so I have difficulty in actually buying into the highways argument about the dangers arising from and nuisances arriving from the traffic, because we are looking at are going to be predominantly local people driving in roads they know in their cars rather than HGVs or agricultural vehicles. So I just wonder whether there's an overemphasis on the traffic issues. So I just wonder whether a site visit to look at any potential traffic issues might help, or maybe because of the transient nature of traffic visits, a site visit might sort of be a waste of everyone's time. And that is that concludes what I want to say. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Fitzpatrick. Personally, I know the site and I know the area, and I don't think, with the greatest respect, Councillor Fitzpatrick, that a site visit would be necessary here. It's the pack that you received with the agenda is really quite plain. It does explain the positioning of the A115, the B1151 and the B159, or the A1159. I get my A's and B's is all muddled up, the roads. And we have got this far, but I will put it to the members when I've heard from Councillor Yassimi if they wish for a site visit. But first of all, I'll hear from Councillor Yassimi.
Madam Chairman, may I just say thank you very much for your answer. I fully appreciate your position, and you know, I fully understand. And the only reason that I mooted this was because I don't know the area.
No,
and
quite.
So,
Quite.
yeah, thank you.
And it is difficult now in that we actually don't do physical site visits. You are quite entitled to traipse over at any time, but it is quite a long way from you. And in this particular situation, I wouldn't thought it was necessary. Anyway, Andreas, you wish to speak?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I've been listening very carefully to the whole thing. Thank you for the officers for a fine report. Be it well balanced, we have to treat each application individually on its own merit. And that's what I've done in my mind today. And thank you, Pauline, or Madam Chair, sorry, for verifying the road situation. I'll take that, and putting together all the other fours for this application. I would be supporting it as well.
Thank you, Andreas. Anybody else wish to speak? Yes, Councillor Mancini-Boyle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a very, very difficult one. I actually visited the other day, and whilst I applaud the development, I do really have concerns about the impact from highways. So I'm really tired at the moment on this one. So if anybody else can help me out, I would appreciate it.
Anybody else wish to speak? Adam, do you know this particular area? Because you're fairly near.
Morning, Madam Chairman. Yes, I know it fairly well. I mean, the issue is, of course, around highways, but it is what it is. And as previous speakers have said, and the officers have said, that it is a finely balanced application. We've got to think of the positive aspects of this application. And I think we need to encourage this as a local authority. It is economic development. It's allowing this company to grow and thrive. It is allowing a disused building to be used again. It's sympathetic, I think, and I will be supporting this.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Has everybody spoken who wishes to speak? Oh, Councillor Fitch-Tillett.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman.
Councillor Fitch-Tillett has a raised hand.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right, we're there. Yes, sorry, I've lost my train of thought now. As I understand it, the vast majority of people who will be housed in this barn are already on site. Can I just clarify that with the applicant?
Mr. Patterson, are you still with us?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Would you like to reply?
Yes, so there's 32 workstations, and 6 of them will be filled by our current staff who are on site in a different location on site. So that leaves 26 workstations, which will be let to a third party.
Thank you very much. So, yes, there is going to perhaps be an increase, but nevertheless, I do know this area quite well. I'm not saying that I travel it very often, but I've been using it backwards and forwards from some considerable time. I do not recall any particular issues on on the 149. I mean, there might be one car in front of me when I'm trying to turn right if I'm going down to Hopton and Wroxham, but I cannot see the issue. So I think that the benefits outweigh the minor problems which have been perhaps suggested by Highways. I'm sorry, but I will support it.
Thank you, Councillor Fitch-Tillett. Anybody else wish to speak before I pass over to Officer Rowson? No. I know this area, as I said, extremely well, and I've travelled this route. As Officer Rubin said, it is finely balanced because we are going against policy to a certain extent, but we have to look at the sustainability of the countryside and the economic development, and this seems a contained development which is not doesn't seem to be, I'm not going to say is not because that's a definite, it doesn't seem to imply problems with vast quantities of traffic, and as it has been mentioned, the most problematic traffic we get on our roads normally are agricultural vehicles. And if anybody has been stuck behind one of the combine harvester type things on the A149, you know what I'm talking about. So I'll leave it at that and pass over to Officer Rowson, if you'd like to conclude, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I appreciate the chance to come back and summarise for you and for our members today. You've heard today that there are factors that are for this development. There are factors which are against the development. Local member has significant concerns. You've heard those concerns. Narrow roads, limited visibility, concerns about additional traffic on the roads, car dependency from the proposals. You've heard from the applicant how those will be moderated, how those will be mitigated. You've heard that from the officer's presentation and read those reports. So I'm content that I believe you've been effectively briefed on the matters that affect the negative weighting considered with this application. Similarly, you've heard about the economic benefits that arrive from the creation of new jobs in the countryside, the reuse of rural buildings. You've heard from Colin that the MPPF gives some leeway on those matters in terms of more remote locations being brought back into reuse for employment and helping our rural economy. I know you all hold those matters dear to you, as much certainly as the highway safety issues. Moving on, we've got a listed building, which is an important building associated with our heritage in the district. It can be that employment uses are less intrusive in terms of reuse of buildings. Certainly, I find that that is something that I'm seeing here with this scheme. So matters. The matter of balance today can also be influenced by the way in which mitigation is applied. You've got electric vehicles, you've got renewable energy on this site, you've got some element of the building being available for people who are already working in the area. Those are all matters to consider when you consider your vote today and you look at the planning balance. It is right, members, that we make decisions on planning balance. There will be no application that you will see that will always have 100% positive planning balance. This will be a matter of judgment, and it is for you to apply that planning balance today. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Officer Rowson, for giving us that rounding up of issues, I think, is that a way of putting it. So we now go to members voting. We have a proposer to approve the officer's recommendation, which is cited on page 7 with the conditions, which includes the European Protected Species Licence. And we have a seconder with Councillor Lloyd. So we'll go to the vote. So this is for approval, everybody. Matt, can you read out, please, names, and would you just say for, against, or abstain? Right.
Can I just check you can hear me okay? Because my
Yes.
connection is... Yeah.
Well, yes, yeah, no, you're fine. I
Okay,
don't know.
so Councillor Brown?
For.
Councillor Cushing?
Against.
Councillor Fisher?
For.
Councillor Fitzpatrick?
For.
Councillor Fredericks?
For.
Councillor Fitch-Tillett?
For.
Councillor Grove?
For.
Councillor Heinrich?
For.
Councillor Kershaw?
For.
Councillor Lloyd?
For.
Councillor Mancini-Boyle?
Against.
Councillor Barley?
For.
And Councillor Yusimi?
For.
That's 11 in favour, and that would pass.
Thank you. So that has been approved, Mr. Patterson.
Thank you very much for your time. Very much appreciate you supporting our business.
Thank you, and I wish you well. Thank you, everybody. That concludes our applications. We now go swiftly on to appeals section. Are you taking this, Philip?
Yes, please, Chairman. If I can address the members through you.
I think you've got one or two extra ones, haven't you?
All are welcome. I think we don't have any members of the public now.
No.
Okay, members. So in the appeals section, section 8 of your report today, there's a section detailing new appeals. We have new appeals at Aylmerton, Blakeney and Field Dalling. If members have any questions about those, I'll be happy to take them at this stage.
We haven't got the Blakeney, actually, I haven't got it here. It's not on our written agendas. I think Linda did send it round or did tell us that there were one or two extras.
That's Grimes Caravan Site, Langham Road, Blakeney, variation of condition 3.
What is the variation of condition 3 then?
I'm not the case officer. I'd have to return to you.
Oh, well, fair enough. We'll just swiftly pass on. That is one of the new appeals. Right. No problems with the other ones. They're just carrying on as per normal, are they?
If I can return at the end of this section, I'll come back to members.
Okay.
So the application at Holt, in terms of the inquiries and hearing, is the application for the Gladman proposals at Holt at Beresford Road. Members will recall that there was a debate at Planning Committee that related to the delivery of 110 dwellings and the setting aside of land for a primary school. Our officers are working on the submission of those proofs today for the public inquiry, which will be held on the 20th of October. This is a very important scheme for the local community at Holt. We're liaising very closely with ward members, with the leader of the council on this matter, and we'll be returning those proofs at the close of business today. The next item on the upcoming inquiries and appeals is the matter of Arcady at Cly next to the sea. I can tell members that progress is being made with the hearing in this case, that submissions have all been made to the Planning Inspectorate. We await a date for the hearing to sit, and we currently have no confirmation as to whether or not that will be a virtual hearing or an attendance in person. We will continue to liaise with the local community at Cly, and we are hoping to hold a mediation session with the contravenor very shortly. I'll update the committee after that mediation session has been heard. Any questions on Arcady at Cly? Okay, Chairman, moving on. The next item to report is the appeal hearing at High Kelling for Holt Woodland Archery. Members, I can report today that the Planning Inspectorate wrote this week asking whether or not this case could be downscaled to a written representations appeal. I've consulted with local members and I will return to the planning inspectorate by close of business tomorrow with the considered opinion from the ward members and the leader of the council. If anyone has any concerns or considerations about the Woodland Archery appeal, I'd be pleased to hear them now. Thank you, Chairman. I'll move on that basis. The next section relates to written representation appeals that are already in hand and is on pages 9 and 10 of the agenda. Are there any questions relating to any of those appeals? Okay, Chairman, then we have a list of appeal decisions that run through on page 10. Are there any questions on those appeals?
Madam Chair, can I ask Mr. Rowson a question about an appeal in hand? I'm sorry to go back one. Is there a date for the North Horsham 0339, Philip?
We haven't been given a date yet, Nigel. The issue is one where the appellant is talking to the district council about making an application to seek regularisation of those proposals. That's always been the outcome that officers have supported here. And if we can receive a planning application, there is a very strong likelihood that the need to pursue a detailed and time-consuming appeal can actually be overcome. The issue here is about making a planning application to seek regularisation, which of course you may call to committee, it's your patch, and we would look then to make sure that that application can be determined quickly.
I'm glad to hear you say that, actually, because I visited this, I visited the applicant and advised him along those lines myself informally. So
thank you.
It makes perfect sense to me. So thank you for that.
Any more questions or comments?
No, thanks very much. We did get quite a detailed email regarding the application for the Gladman appeal, which I think came through either on Monday. So I've read through it once. I'll have to read through it again. So we'll just have to see. Any idea? That's the 20th, isn't it? Our next.
It is, Chairman, yes.
Our next meeting is on the 15th, I think. And I had words with Daryl this morning, and he said there are 2 applications already in hand. What's happening with Ryborough, Philip? Is that coming through yet?
We're expecting the next meeting, and this is not me ducking your answer. The next meeting will be likely to be featuring the application for Roughton Road at Cromer. The same officer is unfortunately dealing with the Ryborough cases, so there's a limitation in terms of officer capacity, but also there is a requirement to satisfy some significant technical issues out at Ryborough which need to be resolved before the application can move forward. So my view is that the Great Ryborough applications may be a little while yet before you're seeing them at development committee. But brace yourselves, Roughton Road is coming for next meeting.
Righty-ho. We'll put our armour on. That's
it will be a good debate, Chairman, and it will be heard without fear or favour, I'm sure. So we are being recorded, of course.
Well, we always have a very fair review of people's opinions. I think we do well.
Councillor
yes.
Toy has a raise hand.
Councillor Toy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, and I'm not on the committee. It's just an observation because it's in my ward. The Erpingham one, the written representations of appeals in hand, that's PO 200100. As I understand it, and I just quickly looked, and that's so my apologies for being a bit behind the curve. It's actually got a decision as refused, so the appeal was refused. So I just wanted to bring us up to date on that because that was my understanding information that I've got. So thank you.
I believe that is correct, Chairman. Our list has obviously been issued for the meeting that we had to cancel and has been reissued on that basis. My apologies that issue was not updated.
So Erpingham's been dismissed.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I can update members with regard to the Blakeney site at Grimes Caravans. The application was to remove a restriction that 2 of the caravans from 6 should be touring caravans. So the proposal is to introduce more static vans.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Philip, that you wish to say at this?
Just really to say, members, we are looking at a significant issue at the Beresford Road site in Holt. The County Council, with regard to that Gladman appeal, are now committing through their officers to significant levels of funding to deliver the school. We're exploring that issue with our appeal team, and that has caused a significant matter to be upgraded and considered within the appeal team's responses. We've been liaising very closely with those members most directly affected by that proposal. A little frustrated that the position has changed so late in the day, but obviously, Chairman, we're trying to be agile, we're trying to be responsible and professional in our response and advice. I know that the local ward members and the leader of the council are reacting in a positive manner as well. We will issue an update, obviously, to our next meeting.
Thank you. And this is still going to be actual representations, isn't it? It's not going to be a written.
No, Chairman, sorry, I need to make that clear. Let me start from the beginning. It's a very good place to start. We are in a situation where that appeal was initially to be an inquiry. The appellant and the district council agreed that it could then be a written representations appeal. The inspector received submissions from the appellant and the district council and changed her mind and insisted that it be an inquiry appeal. So it is an inquiry and that will be held online. We will welcome attendance in that remote inquiry. It'll be the first that we've held. So we'll be, again, pleased to report back on the case and the outcomes that have been arising from the Beresford Road application.
Philip, can I just ask you, when were they given, the inspectors given legal permission to hold the inquiries online? Because I've got it in the back of my mind some little time ago that they weren't going to allow it.
It was part of a consideration under the COVID Act, Chairman. What occurred was there was a significant build-up of appeals, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Many of them very significant and affecting a huge number of communities up and down the country. The Planning Inspectorate were very keen to try and move those forward in a creative way. The Minister made a bold statement, you might remember, in the summer, saying that the Planning Inspectorate would move these matters forward in an innovative way, and that's transpired to be remote hearings and remote inquiries. So we're pleased to support that. We believe that it can be attended. After all, we're holding a remote development committee today.
Yes, thank you. Christopher, you wanted to say something?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question for Mr. Ramsden. Will local members be notified of that? Did you actually say it was going to be held on the 20th of October? Just want to make sure local members have the opportunity to attend that.
I can assure you, through the Chairman, Councillor Cushing, yes, very much so. Members are very much aware of that date and time. And my understanding is that the local ward members have committed to attending the inquiry when I spoke with them yesterday evening, along with the leader of the council.
That's lovely. Thank you.
Yes, I would like.
Has a raised hand as well.
Sorry?
Councillor Fitch has a raised hand.
Oh, yes, Angie.
Yeah, just a question. Could somebody please from the planning team send us a link so that we can get to watch that inquiry, please?
I'd certainly like to listen into that one because it's been bubbling around for so long. And I think those of us who've seen it through from its first manifestation would like to just find out just to listen in. I've never been to a planning inquiry before, so it'll be a learning curve, perhaps for several of us.
Indeed, Chairman, I will be very pleased to do that. I'll speak with the appeals team and ask that all members of the development committee and substitutes are given the details of the inquiry and how you'll be able to access that via a link to the Planning Inspectorate. It's really important, Chairman, that members consider and hear what is said at that inquiry, because it will actually influence the council's 5-year housing land supply. It will also influence our method of calculating housing need within the district. You'll be aware, Chairman, that we're calculating in a way that departs from the national methodology, and we believe that that is justified because of the unique population demographics that we have in North Norfolk and the way in which those have departed from the national methodology. We have a national expert consultant who will be representing the council's case. So I'd very much appreciate it if members have the time and opportunity to tune into that inquiry, that you will hear how the council are attending to the matter of housing numbers calculations and the methodology that we're applying. I think you may have heard a little of that at full council and also through the briefing that we held on the white paper just recently, but that will be an absolute up to the minute update, and obviously you'll hear from the appellant where they feel that the district council are in error on those issues and may be challenged. So good issue to tune into.
Yes, I do encourage, therefore, all of us, all the members of the committee and the subs, please to try and tune into that meeting on the 20th, because I think it's going to be really important. Philip, how long do they normally go on for? Or is that how long is a piece of string?
This will be the first virtual inquiry that I will have experienced. So I'm hoping, with it being a virtual inquiry, that some of the processes might move forward quite quickly. Some of the submissions are being taken in written form. For example, the delivery of the school will be heard in written form with questions. But we have some significant matters to get through, and it may be that the inquiry needs more than one day to be heard. It may be a 2-day inquiry, listening to matters of housing methodology and housing numbers on the first day, and then turning to issues surrounding the delivery of the school on the second. Obviously, we will be pleased to hear from third party, and I understand publicity is already out for the local community and people are registering with the planning inspectorate to turn up and speak. As you heard at committee on the day, there are a number of very, very concerned local residents who will have their say through the inquiry process.
Yes, I was going to say several of the inquiries which are controversial like this go over 2, perhaps 3 days. I think one of them.
It's difficult to predict at this moment, but obviously with it being online, we don't have to book rooms. What we have to do is we have to reconvene after each and every day.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Anything else for the appeals section of the agenda? Anybody else? Right, well then I haven't any urgent business at my discretion. Exclusion of press and public, I don't think we have anything there. Philip's waving at me again. Yes, Philip. Yeah,
Sorry, just one brief point to make, members, before we clear the meeting today. There was obviously a landmark court decision made with regard to Norfolk Homes at Peacock Lane, Holt. I'm asking for the case officer and legal representative to prepare a briefing for members so that you will be fully up to speed on this issue. And I would like to see a report to this committee ASAP. It does relate to historic practices, but there are issues that you need to be aware of, Chairman and members of this committee, and be briefed on what is actually a significant landmark case. So my expectation is you will receive that briefing shortly.
Thank you. Yes, very good. The more information we can get, the better, I think, really, at this stage, because we are moving to the new local plan is coming into the near future, and we're looking at changes to the way in which we administer our planning policy. So that's quite interesting. We're sort of on the cusp, I think is the word, Philip, of one situation and another. So well, thank you very much, everybody. How have we done for time? Not too bad, an hour. And the gremlins weren't too awful. We always seem to get a few gremlins around. And I wish you all a very pleasant weekend. It's terribly grey and horrible out here, but hopefully a bit of sunshine will come our way. Angie, you'll be able to get on your ski balls or whatever the blooming things are.
One of them. mono scheme, Madam Chairman, and not until the end of next week by the look at the forecast. I'm suffering badly.
Yes, well, it's withdrawal symptoms, dear.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much, everybody. And that's the end of this meeting. And I'll see you all on the 15th of October. Bye.
Thank you,
Well
Chairman.
done, Madam Chairman. Bye-bye.